Welcome back to Random History. I'm the navigator as we explore the little known events and people that make history such an amazing subject. The events I delve into are probably not ones you learned about in school. These are the ones that when you do hear about them, you're likely to think they could not possibly be real, but they are. In this episode, we will hear about one of the most inspiring and daring escapes in history. The story of Robert Smalls is one that should have been made into a movie long ago. The man stole a Confederate gunboat and sailed it full of runaway slaves to freedom. He would later become one of the first African Americans to serve in Congress. In our True Heroes segment, I will introduce you to Daniel Inouye. His service in World War II was absolutely one of the most heroic and awe-inspiring you will ever hear about. Severely wounded, he helped his company take a key hilltop, paving the way for the Allies to sweep through Italy, as we pushed the Germans back towards their homeland. As always, we begin the podcast with one of those amazing stories in history that leave you wondering, what? How? No way. This is the story of Robert Smalls. Robert Smalls was an extraordinary figure in American history, a man whose courage, intelligence, and determination transformed him from a slave to a war hero, congressman, and advocate for African American rights. Born into slavery in 1839 in Beaufort, South Carolina, Smalls' life is a powerful testament to resilience and the relentless pursuit of freedom and equality. His most famous act, the daring escape aboard the Confederate ship Planter during the Civil War, is a defining moment in his incredible story. Robert Smalls was born on 5 April 1839 to Lydia Polite, a slave woman owned by Henry McKee. Smalls grew up in the McKee household, where he was treated relatively well compared to other slaves. Despite this, he was still bound by the harsh realities of slavery. As a young boy, Smalls was hired out to work various jobs in Beaufort, including a waiter, a lamplighter, and all of his earnings went to his owner. This experience exposed him to the broader world outside the plantation, fueling his desire for freedom. At age 12, Smalls was sent to Charleston, South Carolina, where he continued to work in various roles, eventually becoming a skilled sailor and boat pilot. His knowledge of the waterways around Charleston would later prove crucial in his daring escape. During this time, Smalls married Hannah Jones, an enslaved hotel maid, and together they had 2 children. Smalls was determined to secure freedom for his family, a resolve that would lead to his historic act of defiance. The defining moment of Robert Smalls' life came on the night of 12 May, 1862. By then, the Civil War had been raging for over a year, and Charleston was a vital port for the Confederacy. Smalls, who had been working as a pilot on the Confederate transport ship Planter, devised a bold plan to escape slavery. The Planter was a heavily armed vessel responsible for transporting guns, ammunition, and troops for the Confederacy. On the evening of 12 May, the ship's 3 white officers disembarked, leaving Smalls and his crew of slaves on board. Seizing the opportunity, Smalls and his crew enacted their plan. Smalls donned the captain's uniform and, with the help of the crew, sailed the Planter out of Charleston Harbor in the early hours of 13 May. Smalls expertly navigated the ship past 5 Confederate forts, using the correct hand signals to avoid raising suspicion. The most nerve-wracking moment came as they passed Fort Sumter, the site where the Civil War had begun. If the ruse were discovered, Smalls and his crew would have been executed on the spot. However, they successfully sailed past the fort and made a beeline for the Union blockade stationed off the coast. As the Planter approached the Union fleet, Smalls raised a white flag of surrender, a bedsheet borrowed from his wife. The Union sailors, initially preparing to fire on the ship, realized the significance of Smalls' actions and allowed the vessel to come alongside. Smalls delivered the planter, along with its cargo of weapons and ammunition, to the Union forces, and in doing so, he not only secured his and his crew's freedom, but also provided the Union with invaluable intelligence and resources. The escape of Robert Smalls was celebrated in the North, and he quickly became a symbol of bravery and intelligence. He and his crew were rewarded with prize money for the capture of the planter, and Smalls himself was hailed as a hero. His intimate knowledge of the South Carolina coast made him an invaluable asset to the Union Navy, and he later was made captain of the planter after it was converted into a Union warship. Smalls served with distinction, participating in numerous engagements along the southern coast. In addition to his military service, Smalls was a powerful advocate for the African American enlistment in the Union Army and Navy. His successful combat and leadership helped to convince President Abraham Lincoln and others of the value of African American soldiers in the fight to preserve the Union and end slavery. After the war, Robert Smalls returned to Beaufort, where he purchased the home of his former enslaver, Henry McKee, an act that symbolized his triumph over the institution of slavery. Smalls' influence and leadership extended beyond his military achievements. He became a prominent Republican political figure during Reconstruction, advocating for the rights of African Americans. In 1868, Smalls was elected to the South Carolina House of Representatives, where he worked to improve public education and advance civil rights for the newly freed African Americans. His political career continued to rise, and in 1874, he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, where he served 5 non-consecutive terms. During his time in Congress, Smalls was a staunch supporter of Reconstruction amendments, particularly the 14th and 15th Amendments, which granted citizenship and voting rights to African Americans. Smalls faced significant opposition from Southern Democrat, white supremacists, and former Confederates who sought to undermine Reconstruction efforts and restore white dominance in the South. Despite this, Smalls remained committed to his cause, advocating for racial equality, civil rights, and economic opportunities for African Americans. He fought against the rise of Jim Crow laws and the erosion of the gains made during Reconstruction, though these efforts were ultimately destroyed by the resurgence of Southern white Democrats in the late 19th century. Robert Smalls' legacy is one of extraordinary courage and dedication to the principles of freedom and equality. His life is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the profound impact one individual can have on the course of history. Smalls' daring escape aboard the planter remains one of the most remarkable episodes of the Civil War, symbolizing the broader struggle for emancipation and the fight against oppression. Smalls' political career during Reconstruction demonstrated the possibilities of African American leadership in the post-war South, even as the forces of racism and segregation sought to curtail these advances. His advocacy for public education, civil rights, economic development all laid the groundwork for future generations of African American leaders and activists. Robert Smalls passed away on 23 February 1915 in the house where he had once been a slave. His life journey from enslavement to congressman is a powerful narrative of self-determination and the relentless pursuit of justice. Today, Smalls is remembered as a hero of the Civil War, a pioneer in African American political leadership, and a symbol of the enduring struggle for racial equality in the United States. For today's True Heroes segment, I chose to speak about a Japanese American soldier and later senator named Daniel Inouye. This is his story. On 19 February 1942, President Franklin Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, allowing the imprisonment of American citizens of Japanese descent. Despite this racist violation of civil rights, scores of Nisei, second-generation Japanese Americans, volunteered to serve in the U.S. military. Many of them found themselves in the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. One such Nisei was Daniel Inouye. Daniel Inouye was a decorated World War II veteran who received the Medal of Honor for his extraordinary heroism during the war. His actions on 21 April 1945 during the battle near the Italian town of San Terenzo are what earned him this highest military decoration. Inouye was serving as a second lieutenant in the 442nd Combat Regimental Team, a unit composed entirely of second-generation Japanese Americans, or Nisei. The 442nd would become one of the most highly decorated units in the history of the United States military, and their bravery and sacrifice were instrumental in challenging the widespread prejudice against Japanese Americans during the war. On the morning of 21 April 1945, Inouye's platoon was tasked with assaulting a heavily defended ridge in the Gothic Line, a major German defensive line in northern Italy. The ridge was fortified with machine gun nests, bunkers, and artillery, making it a formidable objective. Despite the overwhelming odds, Inouye led his platoon in a frontal assault on the enemy positions. As they advanced, Inouye was shot in the abdomen by a sniper. Although gravely wounded, he refused medical evacuation and continued to lead his men forward. He directed his platoon's fire and crawled up the hill, eventually reaching the first of the 3 enemy machine gun nests. With incredible determination, he threw 2 grenades into the nest, killing the enemy soldiers inside and silencing the gun. Inouye then advanced to the second machine gun position. As he was prepared to throw another grenade, his right arm was shattered by a German grenade, which nearly severed the limb. Despite the excruciating pain and the loss of the use of his arm, Inouye pried the live grenade from his useless hand and threw it with his left hand, destroying the second machine gun nest. Bleeding profusely and growing weaker by the minute, Inouye pressed on to the third machine gun position. He charged the enemy, firing his submachine gun with his left hand until he was finally knocked unconscious by a bullet to the leg. His actions inspired his men to continue the assault, ultimately leading to the capture of the ridge. Inouye was evacuated to a field hospital where medics completed the amputation of his right arm that the grenade had left incomplete. His incredible bravery and leadership under fire were immediately recognized, and he was awarded with the Distinguished Service Cross, the Army's second highest decoration for valor. However, in the year 2000, after a review of the records of Asian American soldiers who had served in World War II, his Distinguished Service Cross was upgraded to the Medal of Honor. On 21 June 2000, in a White House ceremony, Inouye was presented the Medal of Honor. In his remarks, President Clinton acknowledged the racism that had prevented many Japanese American soldiers from receiving the recognition they deserved during the war. Inouye's heroism, however, transcended such prejudice, and his actions on that day in 1945 remain a testament to his courage, sacrifice, and dedication to his country. Inouye's legacy extends far beyond his military service. He would later serve in the U.S. Senate for nearly 50 years, where he was a tireless advocate for civil rights, veterans, and the people of his home state of Hawaii. His story is a powerful reminder of the contributions and sacrifices made by Japanese Americans during World War II and the enduring fight for justice and equality in the United States. This concludes episode 4. I really hope you enjoy the program. I know I really enjoy researching and writing it. I say that after every episode. But I truly do hope you will continue listening to my future episodes. In episode 5, I'll be discussing another unbelievable event in history, the Great Molasses Flood of 1919. Until next time, make some history of your own. Navigator out.